a pilgrimage is not the same thing as an ordinary vacation.
Yeah.
It's not a journey where people go to some beach and have fun, but rather it is a religiously motivated journey. And for such a journey to be fruitful, there certain things need to be considered. Namely, one, if we as pilgrims, we leave our home country, so in your case Malaysia, and then you go on the pilgrimage, and you return to Malaysia in the same state, the same status, then something is missing. However, if on the pilgrimage you engage in the Buddha's you engage, you practice the Buddha's teachings, and also reflect on the Buddha's teachings, then changes might occur. So coming to a pilgrimage site like the birthplace of the Buddha here in Lumbini, and reflecting on the fact that this is the place where he was born, and this is the place where he took the first 7 steps, and then made his famous statement that he's the foremost in the world. So coming to a place like this, hearing about its history, well, there's some sense of urgency that might arise.
Yeah.
And that sense of urgency in the Pali scripture language is known as samvega. And so this is the first of the 4 holy sites to arouse faith in the monastics, in the bhikkhus, the bhikkhunis, and the male lay followers as well as the female lay followers. Now, by listening to talks about the Buddha's birth, and then the history of this place, which has been very colored or very colorful, then our understanding will also increase, and with this then the desire to study the Buddha's teachings, and the desire to actually practice the Buddha's teachings, that desire, in Pali known as chanda, that desire will increase. And with that increase in desire, it certainly could well be that at least some of you will be engaging in actual mindfulness meditation practice, or in the practice of samatha, so the absorptions, and with that then some degree of purification of the mind will take place. Now, while on pilgrimage, we want to cultivate our mind, we want to cultivate our bodily conduct, we want to cultivate our verbal conduct. And so if we absorb the Buddha's teachings, and if we keep, for instance, in mind the 4 Brahma Viharas, consisting of loving kindness, consisting of compassion, and karuna, and sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, and we then practice, we try to live those qualities, then, and we do this as a group of pilgrims, then this may make a difference. And the way we relate to each other on a pilgrimage with loving kindness and compassion and so on will ensure that there are good feelings among each other. There would the quarrels, the fights over who gets the best room. Right. So those kind of quarrels cease, and instead it will be a group of pilgrims, of like-minded pilgrims, who happily together on friendly terms with one another, viewing each other with eyes of loving kindness, as the texts are saying, then such a pilgrimage will be a beautiful experience for all who participate in it. Now, if on top of that, so we practice, and then maybe we take the first baby steps along the path to liberation, then that would be already very helpful. And if then at during the entire pilgrimage we keep the precepts, at least the 5 precepts, possibly even the 8 precepts, well, that will contribute to ethical conduct. So that will already make a big difference in comparison to someone who just goes on a vacation somewhere at the exotic beach. And so then equipped with ethical conduct, and then practicing the 4 Brahma Viharas, practicing mindfulness as much as possible, otherwise practicing samatha. So these changes will gradually have an impact. If on top of this, as a group, you perform acts of generosity, supporting those in need of support, then dana is also covered. So the merits that are arising from all these wholesome deeds, well, gradually they pile up, they accumulate, and by the end of your pilgrimage, you'll have a big amount of merits there. And those are not to be underestimated. Comes to return to Malaysia, then your state of being, your state in terms of bodily action, of verbal action, and mental action, will be quite different from the state that you were in before you went on pilgrimage. So let's say before you went on pilgrimage, you had all sorts of worries at home, maybe even some quarrels at home, and with your relatives or at the workplace, whatever it might be. But then, having gone on a pilgrimage and deliberately cultivating wholesome qualities, by the time you get back, you're not the same person, right? And with that, then the pilgrimage will be a memorable experience that will stay with you for many, possibly many years, and this will inspire you to follow the Buddha's teachings in earnest, and then deepen your understanding of the Buddha's teachings, not only theoretically, but also practically, and then actually realizing the Dhamma as much as possible. As to a pilgrimage, we may further make a distinction between the external pilgrimage, which means you as pilgrims traveling from the tour starting from Bodh Gaya, you visited all these places, and now you're in Lumbini and you'll have still a few places to go. It would be good to complement that, as outlined just now, with the internal pilgrimage. And the internal pilgrimage is one where we travel from an ordinary state of being to a state of gradually purifying the mind, more and more and more, and eventually this may lead to the realization of the noble peace of Nibbana in this very life. And so if it's like a pilgrimage like that, so externally we're traveling to the various places related to the life and teachings of the Buddha, and on top of that we are undergoing this internal pilgrimage, then this can be considered a really fruitful, meaningful pilgrimage. And I sincerely wish that this is the case with all members of this group from Subang Jaya.